Bernie Sanders. He says it's a very sad day for our country that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been invited by leaders from both parties to address a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress. Netanyahu, he calls him a war criminal.
Bernie Sanders is parroting the talking points of Hamas and the Ayatollah in Iran. If that's the side he wants to choose, so be it.
Yesterday, in an interview with Fox News, Speaker Mike Johnson said that I, and I quote, was parroting the talking points of Hamas, end quote, and that I and others, quote, stand with Hamas and the Ayatollah. But what the Fox interview did get right is that I believe it is a very sad day for our country that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been invited by leaders from both political parties to address a joint session of the United States Congress. Over the last 8 months, almost 8 months, Netanyahu and his extremist government have killed more than 36,000 Palestinians and wounded over 82,000. That is 5% of the population of Gaza, and 60% of those who have been killed or wounded are women, children, or elderly people. Netanyahu's war machine has driven 1.7 million people from their homes, 75% of the population of Gaza. And I would like the American people to think about that. Think about your community. Think about your state. Think about what it would mean if 75%, three-quarters of your population were driven from their homes, and most of these people are poor, and they leave their homes not knowing where they are going with nothing but what they could carry in their hands. Think about that incredible level of desperation. Three-quarters of the population driven from their homes, carrying a few bundles of clothing or food or whatever it may be. Further, Netanyahu's government has damaged or destroyed over 60% of the housing in Gaza, leaving more than 1 million people permanently homeless. You know, there is a lot of talk in the media and among the pundits about the day after the war ends. But let's be clear. For over 1 million people, there is no day after in which they can return to their homes because their homes, their housing units, have been destroyed. Mr. Netanyahu and his government have annihilated Gaza's health care system. And I have talked to doctors, American doctors who have been there, who talk about the systematic destruction of their health care system. Just to think about what is going on psychically, psychologically, to the children of Gaza. Imagine being in a place where drones are flying all over the place. Maybe they are with weapons, maybe not. Buildings have been destroyed. Your relatives have been killed. You don't have any water. You don't have any food. You're driven from one place to another. What kind of permanent damage will occur to virtually every one of these children? What a horrible experience it is. We should remember that his government, according to virtually every humanitarian organization functioning in Gaza, has intentionally blocked humanitarian aid. That is food, water, medical supplies, from reaching the desperate people of Gaza, which has created, on top of everything else, the conditions for starvation and famine. And, Mr. President, I would tell you, as you probably already know, that blocking humanitarian aid and creating the conditions for famine is not only an act of extreme cruelty, using starvation as an act of war, but it is a violation of both American and international law. It is a war crime. That is what it is. And I would say to Speaker Johnson that when you attend your fundraising dinners with your billionaire friends and you eat your fine steaks and your lobsters and your other wonderful food, please remember these pictures from Gaza. This is a photograph of a child in Gaza. These children and thousands more are the direct result of Netanyahu's policies. Netanyahu, the man Speaker Johnson has invited to address Congress. No, Mr. President, I will not be in attendance for that speech. I yield the floor.